Welcome to Unboxing History, where we unbox the fascinating artifacts that are part of the Galveston County Museum's collection. I'm Christine Hopkins, co-host of the podcast, with my friend Jodi Wright Gidley, the executive director of the Galveston County Museum. Today, we're unboxing a couple of mysterious artifacts that connect us to Galveston County history. Along the way, we're going to share 4 lesser-known facts about the region. And this is all part of the newly released book, Galveston County, Texas, A Narrative and Pictorial History by the Galveston County Commission. Before we begin, I have a little riddle for you. I'm big and gray with floppy ears. I haven't been seen in thousands of years. I had tusks so long and a trunk so grand. Now I'm buried beneath the sand. Who am I? So, Jodi, let's start with this massive find that left researchers really stunned.
Yes. So, in 1916 in San Leon, a really strange skull was unearthed. It was huge. It had 12-foot-long tusks, and it was identified as being part of a Colombian mammoth.
Wow.
And so, this is not from that skeleton, but it is one like it. So, this is a Colombian mammoth bone from our collection.
Wow.
And we have a section of the museum that tells the story of paleontology in Galveston County, and this is a part of that exhibit. But what it really also does, it just reminds us that, before we were here, there were strange creatures all over Galveston County. When they built the Texas City Dike, they found bones that belonged to camels, bison, mammoths, and sloths. A lot of these bones even had marks on them, and that indicates that people had butchered them for food. So this gives us an idea of the prehistory of Galveston County, which is one of the subjects covered in the book.
Well, there's your answer. So the riddle leads you to the Colombian mammoth, which once roamed the area. It's still so hard to imagine them here in Galveston or in Galveston County, but this is part of our history, and it's amazing that they discovered this in, what did you say, 1916? And so this is, one of the things that you can learn when you come to the Galveston County Museum is more about that as part of the exhibit. There are a lot of interesting cities in Galveston County, all with their different history, all with a different namesake. So let's talk about one that you featured in the book.
Okay. So let's talk about Algoa. So in western Galveston County, the Santa Fe Railroad ran through there, and there were 4 communities established along the railroad. Algoa was the 4th one of these 4. And so at first, it was a small little community. It had its own telephone office at one time in the 1880s. And they named that little station of the telephone office, they called it Hughes. Well, that name didn't stick. So in 1896, there was a British steamship docked in Galveston named Algoa, and it was huge. As cotton was loaded, as grain was loaded, word spread around about how this was the biggest ship ever docked in Galveston. So people came to see it, they came to take their picture with it. And so the story goes, there was a daughter of one of the gentlemen who was developing western Galveston County, and she said, Algoa would be a great name for a town, and that stuck. So the very next year, they had a trainload of people from Galveston and Houston visit Algoa. They had a picnic. They sold town lots in an auction. And then a plat of the town was made, filed at the county courthouse, and it became the town of Algoa. More and more people moved in, and the rest is history.
So what do we have?
So we have a picture of the ship.
Yeah.
We have a picture of the Algoa General Store that was there. Our store that came shortly after the town was created, and there's the big ship. The ship, is no longer around. It's lost to history, but the name of Algoa, the town's still there.
Well, thanks, Jodi. Who knew? Well, we've talked about bones. We've talked about a namesake for a city. Now let's talk about something that still exists even today that's living.
Okay. So if you were moving to the area, you were going to start a new life, build a family home. And so what would you bring with you? Most people would bring certainly clothes and food and tools, maybe building materials. Well, some people also brought saplings with them. They knew Galveston County wasn't really well known for trees and shade, but they wanted that. And so a lot of the settlers that came to Galveston County in the 1800s brought pecan trees, all kinds of live oak trees, and they plant them because they wanted them as a windbreak or shade for their homestead. And then over the years, as more and more people came and settled here, citrus trees were planted. And really, Galveston County was known for citrus, vegetables, all kinds of produce. And they would sell that. It was a, cash crop for them. And so this is a picture of some gentlemen on one of those western railroad towns. And you can see in the picture, you've got businessmen and maybe men who are the farmers. But what they're doing is they're getting ready to ship everything on the railroad to Houston or Galveston to sell. And one of the crops that was a really big cash crop was figs. And Galveston had its own fig candy company. And so this was Galveston figs. And so that's one of the stories from the book too.
And that's a beautiful label. I mean, pull it out again if you don't mind. I mean, my gosh, the colors are so vibrant. And it's just really, I mean, I would love that on a poster.
Yeah, that's fine.
I mean, it says Galveston, Texas figs. Well, there you go. Well, thanks so much. I think that's pretty interesting. And what's fun is that we still see these plants all over. If they've made it through our weather or hurricanes and all of that, I'm sure some of them still exist. The figs and the plants and the fruit. It's such an interesting way to connect to our past. Well, now we have something that I think is a surprising wildlife fact.
Yeah.
So let's talk about our last little fun fact that we pulled from the book.
So deer used to swim across Galveston Bay, and they would do this as a part of their regular migration. They were searching for food and safety, and they had little uninhabited islands they could stop on and have a snack and as they swam around. So we don't really see deer swimming in the bay today, but historical record shows that people saw this well into the 20th century. And so the unboxed item that I have to kind of represent that story is a deer bone. So this one was found in Texas City, and it has been identified as a deer bone. And it's just another show of how there are animals that were just everywhere around here, and deer were swimming in the bay.
Well, and that's a pretty long swim.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's not a short swim. What was the whole idea behind the book?
Yeah. So the Historical Commission has been working with the goal of having a comprehensive county history book for years. It's taken about 5 years for this book to be drafted and edited and made. It was the work of several Historical Commission members. And so what's great about it is, there have been books written on on Galveston history, but not really on county history. Mm-hmm. Each community has its own story, but this is the very first book that puts it all together. So it has the history of every community in Galveston County. Some don't even exist anymore, but they're in the book to tell their story. And it really does a good job of showing how the communities developed and some of the times they depended on each other. You really get the sense of how all of the communities developed and they worked together, provided goods maybe one community didn't have, and none of it could have developed without each other working together.
I think that's going to be interesting for people to see that through the past. And I would imagine most all of the photos that are included in the book are included in part of the collection.
Yes. So a lot of the photos from the book are from the collection of Galveston County Museum, as well as other small community museums around the county. We all contributed to the book. And it is, like I said, it is a comprehensive history of the county that you won't find in any other book. So the book is available for a donation of $50. You can get it here at the museum, but it's also available at some other museums in the area, like the Texas City Museum, the Longhorn Museum in Kemah, as well as the League City Historical Society. And we can also sell it to you online and ship it to you. So if y'all are interested in the book, just give us a call or email and look at our website. We've got some information on there too. It's www.galvestoncountyhistory.org.
And that wraps up this episode of Unboxing History. We encourage you to stop by and visit the Galveston County Museum, put it on your list of things to do, and please subscribe to the Unboxing History podcast hosted by the Galveston County Museum. Thanks for watching and stop by.